What's up everybody, this is Aircrete Harry, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how to better prepare for some of the predicted disasters that will be happening on this planet, Mother Earth. So I'm going to talk about some of the evidence of that. But first I want to show on aircreteharry.com, Mrs. Aircrete has created two special listings, one for 120 volt and one for 230 volt. So we have a special offer right now and it's ending the end of this month. I want to start with the year 2000, or rather the year 1999. So during the year 1999, the big talk was the concern about what was going to happen to the computer systems, because it's going to be the first time it's switching from 1999 to 2000. So that was, believe it or not, a major concern in the world about what was going to happen with the computer systems. There were a lot of people predicting computers would crash and just send the whole country into turmoil, into a panic, because everyone's computer systems were down. So this was the year 2000 problem, according to Wikipedia, but it was a Y2K glitch was what everyone was concerned about. I'm bringing this up because it was around this time that I began thinking about where I might want to move in the country. So we had this happen, and then we had 2012. The next big concern worldwide was the world going to end, because the Mayan calendar had a prediction of the world coming to an end, right? It's a little more involved than that, but I'm just summarizing. And so this was another big concern. There were a lot of people talking about this, about how we should be concerned that something's going to happen to the earth. And we, as humanity, as humans on this planet, needed to be prepared for the upcoming end of the world disaster that was predicted. So that was another thing happening in the world. Thankfully, this didn't happen. The world continued and we are still here. And another concern of mine, living in New York. So I lived in Brooklyn, and at that time there used to be a nuclear power plant right around here. It was like 30 miles from the city. And so there was a nuclear power plant. It was old. I don't remember the name of it. I think it was like Indian Powerhead plant or something. But either way, it used to be one really close to the city. And that was a concern of mine. After having learned about the nuclear power plant in Chernobyl that had a meltdown and the entire city had to be evacuated, it was a concern of mine. At that time, it was very fear-based, the information I was looking at. So my concern was, if a nuclear power plant melted down so close to New York City, the entire city would have to be evacuated. So I didn't really want to have anything to do with that. And so it was always on my mind, where are the nuclear power plants? And what also was on my mind was I didn't want to live anywhere near one in case there was ever some problem and they had a meltdown. That was always a concern of mine. On his government website, USNRC shows the current nuclear power plants in the United States. And I believe these are all active nuclear power plants. Let me look in New York. Yeah, these are all the active ones. So you can see there are a lot of power plants here on the East Coast, nuclear power plants. And Anyway, that was a concern of mine. So I didn't want to live anywhere near these. So I pulled this one of these maps up. It wasn't this one. It was probably a map like this here. And I was looking at the map saying, okay, I didn't want to be anywhere near any nuclear stuff. So immediately I ended up going out west because you could see how open there was, and there were hardly any nuclear power plants out west. So again, this was just a fear that I had, a concern that I had of one of these things melting down, and then we go bye bye. And so anyway, I looked here, and Colorado stuck out to me because of the mountains, because I knew the U.S. military had so many bases in Colorado. My assumption immediately, I'd seen a bunch of documentaries and things about Cheyenne Mountain, and different bases that the military built. And so I know the military did their homework on where the best place would be to survive natural disasters, man made disasters. And then I also found this map, which I don't know if it's true or not, but at the time, this was in the 90s. I think I saw this map originally in the 90s, but then found it again when I started searching for where would I want to live. And so when you look at this map, this is supposed to be underground tunnel systems that the government built in this country. So I don't know if this is true or not, but when you look at it again, there's a lot of stuff happening in Colorado and in New Mexico. So whether or not this was true, I didn't know, but I went with the assumption if it is true and I could get into the tunnels for safety, then I need to be closer. So that was where my mind was at after hearing so many different stories at that time of what was going on in the country. Also, in the late 90s, I saw a PBS documentary of some geologists that were taking core samples of the earth close to volcanoes. And what they were finding was there were metallic particles in the soil that were aligning to north. And they noticed basically every 12,000 years, the metal particles in the soil were changing their alignment. So what was north was now south, and what was south was north. So every 12,000 years in that core sample, the magnetic particles aligned to north, and every 12,000 years it changed. So I thought that was extremely interesting. And again, this is late 90s. I heard this on a PBS documentary. And their theory was that the poles reversed. And it was really interesting. It was a real eye opener because, as far as I know, humanity has never experienced that. Humanity on this planet right now has never experienced one of these pole reversals or pole flips. And we're about to go through one. The science has been talking about this happening. In 2013, I was introduced to this YouTube channel, Suspicious Observer, and I've basically been subscribed and watching almost a video a day. What's happening with the Earth, with the sun, with solar flares. This channel talks a lot about the solar flares happening, about a lot of disasters that may happen on this planet in the very near future, within the next 10 to 20 years. Mainstream science is talking about this happening. And there's a lot of good information on this channel about that, about the solar weather, the earth, a lot of information about solar flares and these EMEs that are coming to earth. I'm a big time believer in the science that Ben, the person running this channel, has been talking about for many years. Now, I've also, when I learned about this channel, it was actually during a workshop I was having, and it was the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshop. It was a School of Remembering, And the course was developed by Drunvalo Melchizedek, and it was called the Awakening the Illuminated Heart. And so I'd taken this course, and it was really good because Drunvalo also came out with the book The Flower of Life, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And there was tons of great information there about the flower of life, geometry, just a lot of good info. And at this workshop, it was a 4-day workshop. And the first day of the workshop, we learned about geometry and all this and that, right? And then I learned a very powerful meditation. It's probably one of the most powerful meditations a person could learn and perform, is this meditation. Now you have to take the workshop to learn it. I'm pretty sure there's an online course. I think I remember seeing on Gaia TV this workshop online. But my suggestion is, if you can find a facilitator near you who's teaching the workshop, and you can see here they have a list. When I was looking, this list was much larger. There used to be a lot more facilitators around the country, around the world. So there's still a lot here. So you definitely have to go through, you look at the areas and find one nearest you. And I would highly recommend this workshop. A little side note, it was the first day of meditation at this workshop that I saw with my eyes closed. My physical eyes were closed. I was wearing a blindfold, and I was able to see with my third eye. It was pretty amazing. So anyway, this workshop, one of the main teachings was talking about the solar flare that was going to happen and cause a pole reversal, or the earth to flip its poles. It was really wild because the meditation basically the sign was, you learned how to do the meditation, I practiced it, become proficient at it, and then when the solar flare happens, we were told to then do this meditation, and we would transition to the next level, to the 4th dimension or 5th dimension. And so it was really powerful. I'm learning this meditation. I'm learning about geometries. I'm being told that the signal is from the sun. When the big flare happens, we do this meditation to get into our heart. We activate our Merkaba fields, and then we can continue living as spiritual beings in the next dimension. That's pretty much the gist of it. Besides that part, the meditation, again, is very powerful. Highly recommend it, even if you just do the online course. So I have this school that's teaching that. Then I have Ben here at Suspicious Observer, who's coming in with the scientific data, right? So that's another good thing, is you'll see some of the paperwork about, everything that's happening. I highly suggest going to this channel, Suspicious Observer. I'll leave a link in the description box below, and look at the playlist and just check out these playlists. Now I'm going to go over a couple of them real quick just to show you, but this is some of the best information you can get on what's happening in the world, what's happening with our magnetic field on the earth, with the sun. I mean, all the info's here, and some top scientists are providing the information, and Ben's well researched in this field and extremely knowledgeable, and a lot of great information here. I take this as what's going to be happening. This is 100% my belief as well, that these pole reversal flips do happen, and when they happen is what we're going to talk about real quick. The map that you see here, I'm not going to play everything that he's saying, but everything here has been exaggerated for easier interpretation of what's going on here. So the mountains aren't this high, obviously. Basically what Ben is talking about in this video is, what will the oceans of the world do when this pole reversal happens? Because when the pole reversal happens, the Earth's crust It's supposed to slip on the core, or however it's supposed to work, and America will no longer be in the orientation it is. And I'll just jump to this part. So here's the Earth in its current orientation, and here is the predicted orientation, the new orientation of the Earth once this flip happens. So you can see down here, this is the South Pole. It's now at the equator, and they're always talking about how the scientists at the South Pole have found under 5 miles of ice tropical jungles. So it makes sense that the South Pole was at the equator at one point, the way they describe. So here you can see America, and well, you can see North America here. Well, I guess this would technically now be the new South America when the flip happens. But you can see this is here would be about where I am now in Colorado. So it'd probably be about similar weather that I have now because of the distance from the equator. So my hope is I picked a good spot, right? Obviously, if you were in Alaska, that's another great spot right on the equator. It's going to be really warm there. But the concern is when this flip happens, the water is going to overtake. There may be tsunamis hundreds of feet tall. We really don't know. No one really knows what's going to happen. We have a really good idea of what has happened in the past based on geology. And as an example, saltwater lakes in like the middle of Nevada or something like that. Just meaning that the oceans came all the way in, deposited their water and salt, and then once they receded, once the flipped again, and we came back to this orientation, the water receded and went back to the ocean. But this is definitely something to be concerned about if you believe this stuff, right? If you believe this information that a lot of science has been pretty much proving since the late 90s, as far as I know, then this will happen. So if this is going to happen as predicted within the next 10 to 20 years, then I think it's best to be prepared. And that's kind of what I did with moving out to Colorado. Because, I chose Colorado as the ideal location in the United States. And I'm pretty much where I want to be in case anything goes down. I don't care what goes down. I'm where I want to be, which is not in the big city. Again, I was born and raised Brooklyn, New York. I moved out to Colorado. And now that I'm out here, I'm just getting my homestead ready, just trying to be more self-sufficient, self-reliant, and better preparing myself in the event this happens within my lifetime. So nothing wrong with being prepared for it. I was already out of the city. So here I go. Again, now we have, and in this video, Ben is just talking about the areas he would choose to live. And he's also in Colorado. In this video, he's talking about the heights of the Appalachian Mountains. I would definitely check this video out. It's really cool. He's made similar videos in the past showing the water levels rising and what would be covered. We know, for example, Florida's at sea level, almost below sea level. Actually, not almost. It is below sea levels in some areas of Florida. So it wouldn't take much for Florida to be underwater. And here, Ben's talking about the population density in Europe. And he's going to talk about some areas that he would choose to live if he were in Europe. And here he has circled the areas in Australia that he chose. And these red are the highest peaks, that are mountainous areas. So this is what he's choosing for that. Now, it's great that you have a location, right? Like me. I've chosen Colorado. If you're in Australia, you have these options. If you're in Europe, you can look at the options. He chooses for Europe, which is in Spain, and this mountainous area here, and he suggests the inside away from the oceans. And so Very sound, reasonable selections. And again, this is a good video because he also talks about the people, humanity. Everyone going through a catastrophe now has to scramble to survive. Everyone's trying to get to the highest point. It's going to be a real nightmare. There's a lot of movies depicting that. So, what I'm here to say is you need to be prepared not only with location, like myself and Ben, which are in Colorado, but you need to be prepared with your structure. Because again, no human being on this planet right now has witnessed what happens on the planet when the shift happens, when the flip happens, when the poles reverse. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. You can only imagine how disastrous it can be. We know what Mother Earth can do during a storm, all right? High winds, rain, lightning. We know during regular Earth cycle, and we have storms, how bad the storms could get. Tornadoes, right? Everything. Lightning can start fires and everything. So I'm saying if you want to be prepared for this, if you believe this information that Ben was talking about, and also what I learned from Drumvalo Melchizedek's workshop about this happening, then you want to be prepared, right? Let's say 100%, which I do, 100% believe in this information that I got, but I don't know how everything's going to go down. I don't know if I'll be able to transition to the fourth or fifth dimension and continue living, when disaster happens. I could be on this planet and be living through the disaster. Or maybe it takes a little time after disaster. Who really knows? I don't. But what I do know is I am a physical human being in this 3D reality right now, and I want to continue living. So therefore, I will build my concrete dome homes, right? And I made a video here, why build a dome, benefits and reasons. I thought, oh, it's pretty good, 21,000 views. I thought this was a pretty good view of domes and the different disasters that have happened that domes have survived. So you can check this video out for yourself. I'll have a link in the description box below for this video. And this was the only photograph I found on the internet of a dome structure surviving a tornado. So you can see a tornado went through here. Every house is gone. Cars are ripped up. But yet we have this dome standing, no problem. And in this video, I showed this dome here. There was a fire that happened, and the flames just went right over the dome. It didn't burn. And even in this clip here, this woman's dome home, there was fires all around, and the fire goes right up to the dome, and the dome doesn't burn, right? So you can see the whole area is scorched, no problem. The dome survives. And here you can see there were wooden dome structures built and tested with different earthquake simulations with tons and tons of weight on top, and the dome survive. And a concrete dome built correctly will also survive, no problem. And look, an additional 10 tons of sandbags were added to the top of this dome, and for the total of 24 tons of weight. And bulletproof, yes. I've also shown in this video how the domes are bulletproof. Again, built correctly, they can be the best survival home you can have that will survive natural disasters, fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, definitely termites. Bullets, you can make it bulletproof in case you're in the area. Again, if the world's gone to hell, right, because of natural, disasters that happen, then it'd be nice to have something that's going to survive it. So a traditional stick-built house, I don't think it's going to survive. I feel like the winds might get up to like 1,000 miles an hour. We really don't know, right? I think there have been winds that have reached 200 miles an hour in Antarctica. They've had some really high winds, and obviously during hurricanes and tornadoes, we've had very high winds. But during one of these pole reversals, where the Earth is going to flip on its axis, yeah, what's going to happen? We don't know. The oceans are going to push. Listen, you got winds move oceans. Imagine now you have a massive 200, 300-foot tidal wave coming. That's going to push a lot of air. And sometimes I hear, it's so insane to believe, tsunamis could be moving hundreds of miles an hour. So, how are you going to say for sure, what's the best way to survive one of these things? We don't know. So in my opinion, you can start with a dome that will survive any earth disaster that has currently happened, from hurricanes, tornadoes, to fires, to earthquakes. The dome will outlast any other structure. Actually, these structures right here that Doug Lacey built are also really nice and strong. But my point is, if you're going to build something, if you are concerned or if you believe this is going to happen and you're not preparing yourself, then, moving is not going to do much good, because even Colorado's probably going to get winds hundreds of miles an hour. The research Ben has done, they're predicting some serious earth climates happening. Also, there's talk that the earth may stop spinning for 3 days. So whatever side of the earth you're on, you're either going to be in the sun for 3 days or in the dark for 3 days, whichever happens. So this was definitely something I would highly recommend checking out, these videos on the earth disaster, or earth disaster is coming. So this video and the next here, the solar micronova is going to happen. I definitely recommend this. And yeah, like that image just now with the boat, like this is nothing compared to what is spoken about may happen. Absolutely. Here's some little bit of animation here showing the ocean just covering. So whatever it is. So my point is, you want to be prepared. I say build a dome. I got a great online course. Also, I made this video talking about to come out and assist you in building a structure. One of these, either hyperbolic paraboloid, which is the second strongest shape you can build, or a dome. And I'm talking to some people about possibly having some workshops, maybe in Colorado and in Florida, and possibly even Texas. So I'll see. The workshops are great, but I think this deal is awesome. I mean, for 15,000, you're looking at building a 1,444 square foot home for about 30,000 bucks. 40,000 bucks. And you're talking about bulletproof, fireproof, earthquake proof, termite proof, hurricane proof, tornado proof. It's and I'm going to say proof. Normally you really technically want to say resistant, but again, built correctly, you can say it's fireproof, right? If there were an external fire, you would be safe in the home, especially the way I'm designing these homes, because I'm looking to incorporate every passive system possible. I'm also thinking about the things that I've experienced here in Colorado. Last year, there were tons of fires, right? We have fires in New Mexico, thousands of acres burning and blowing smoke up here. We also had fires in Canada that were blowing smoke down. It was crazy. Like at one point, our skies were brown. And so my only point in saying that is I'm also looking to incorporate biochar air filters similar to what would be used for a nuclear bunker, right? And it's a very simple DIY system. It's all about having a good blower and just like 80 pounds or 100 pounds of biochar, charcoal to filter the air. And so any structure I build is going to be incorporating geothermal energy, geothermal batteries. I think I mentioned that in this video already. And air filtration and water filtration. Very key things for survival. There's also a power option I'm working on using a generator head and a small car to turn the generator head. It's something I'm currently working on as a power source to be very efficient fuel wise. And again, if you want to prepare for these possible disasters happening in the next 10 to 20 years, then in my opinion, this is how you really properly prepare. And another thing I'll mention is something I learned about recently, which are Jerusalem artichokes. And what I learned is this plant, this is what the flower looks like, and this is the root. This plant grows everywhere in the world, but I'm going to just deal with the United States. It grows everywhere in the United States and is one of the toughest plants. It can grow in some of the worst soil conditions. Not that it's going to grow as healthy as good soil conditions, but the fact that it would grow at all is amazing. And I'm not even talking about if you set a pot above ground bed system and grow it to really be prepared food wise for, listen, you could be prepared for this year, for next year, or for a disaster coming. This is a great plant to have because of the roots. And the other benefit to this plant and why I really like it so much since learning about it, not only will it grow anywhere, but you don't have to harvest the roots before winter. You can actually leave everything buried in the soil and just dig it out once you're ready to eat it. So that was another nice benefit of this plant, is you don't have to harvest it all right away as soon as it's grown. And also I learned about these Japanese sweet potatoes. And again, another hearty food that you can grow and easily live off of if you had to. And so that's something to really think about, is what type of garden are you going to grow? What type of crops will you be growing if you're preparing for this climate disaster that's predicted to happen in the next 10 to 20 years? And so it only makes sense to me, if you're already of the mindset that you want to move out of the city and you want to do what I've done and move out into the country and just be self-sufficient, self-reliant, then it pays, in my opinion, to have a complete setup. So not only do you have your garden and preferably a greenhouse to protect you from the weather, to protect your vegetables and fruits from the weather, but you want to have your home that you'll be able to live in. Because if you have to survive, let's say we have to survive, like, because Ben talks about in this video, let's say you have to survive like 5 years in the winter. Can you do that? What would be involved to do that? And in my opinion, it's some serious preparations. Now, the good thing is we have brothers and sisters, we have neighbors, and we don't have to prepare by ourselves. So the good thing would be to find a community, like-minded people, all looking to prep. Then perhaps you can all help each other when it comes to growing your vegetables and things and raising your animals like chickens and goats. And then also being able to work together to build your dome concrete structures or your hyperbolic structures, right? If you can do that with neighbors, friends, family, it makes the process easier. It makes it a lot less expensive. I'll give you an example. My first dome that I built on this property when I moved here in 2019, it was this dome here, and it cost me under $2,000 to build. Now that price has gone up because the cost of Portland cement has gone up, so it would be close to double that price now with the prices. A bag of cement used to cost $12 when I moved here. It's up to $20 or $25 now, so it's crazy. And point being, I built it myself, so I didn't have to pay for labor, which is the most expensive part of having a home built. So if you could build yourself with family and neighbors, friends, family, neighbors, then you're going to save a massive amount of money. The deal that I offer in this video, I think, is really good, because again, my intention when I made the video was to help people build a home as inexpensively as possible that was going to be something that could be passed down for generations, right? You know, built correctly, it could be. And so that's where my head is at. That's why I moved to Colorado originally. Once I got out here, you know, I was just fell in love with the skies. You know, it was amazing to see these skies and the stars. Where I live now is almost zero light pollution. So I look up, I can see the entire Milky Way galaxy. Unlike when I was in Brooklyn, I could only see like 4 or 5 stars in the nighttime sky, which was pretty sad. You saw more stars when you went upstate New York, but nothing like out here in Colorado. I'm at 6,500 foot altitude, and it is absolutely beautiful. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say in this video. I wanted to introduce you guys, if you are not subscribed to Suspicious Observer, to get on board with this information that's scientifically backed. Definitely check out the disaster list here. It's a very good list, again, about what's happening. And then also visit aircreteharry.com for your Aircrete supplies. So I have the foam generators, I've got recipes, I had different cement recipes R value tested, and so we have licensed engineer R value test results, so you can take those documents to your county to show you're going to be using this as an insulative layer. And most importantly, we have the foam generating units, one of the best units that you can get. The only one that comes with a foot pedal, gives you hand-free operation. And also the foam shredder here, in case you want to make styro aircrete or epic cement mix. A very simple, really inexpensive way. I showed the video of me making this foam shredder. Also really important if you're making aircrete is the aircrete thickening agent, proven to make your aircrete stronger. I add this additive to all my aircrete now. And also the air entrainment helps to get the air bubbles entrained into the cement. But I also have the PDF files here to teach you how to make the gore patterns so that you can sew up your own airform, again, to bring the cost of building one of these as far down as possible. The least expensive way to build is to build yourself. With one roll of Tyvek, you can make a 20-foot diameter airform. The calculator and these gore patterns. Yeah, this is all to help anyone be able to build as inexpensively as possible a very strong structure that would last one of these disasters, because they last all current earth disasters now. And again, that you can watch that video. I'll have that video in the description box below. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Aircrete Harry. Peace out. I love you all and be safe.